Let's start on the defense. And folks, we would remind you that we got together with Spencer to knock out the offense. So check out those videos on the Oregon channel and also the whole rips on the national channel. And again, join Spencer on a daily basis. They're Locked On Ducks, Locked On. Yes, it is the Pac-12 for 2023. Locked On Pac-12. We can still say that. Looking at this defensive front, we can start there. Jordan Birch comes in from South Carolina. He's a guy off the edge that they expect some good things from. And they've got 3 or 4 guys that played significant time coming back to that defensive front.
Yeah, and Birch is kind of the key here because Brandon Dorlus returning from a season ago is huge. That was Oregon's best defensive lineman last year. Wasn't particularly close. I know DJ Johnson led the team in sacks, but Brandon Dorlus was the guy who had the biggest impact consistently on the defensive line, on a unit, by the way, that struggled to create pressure on the quarterback. But a big reason for that is they didn't have enough quality pass rushers. And Casey Rogers is a disruptive interior defensive lineman, but he's better against the run. He's not much of a pass rusher. And you don't typically get great interior pass rushers. They're really, really hard to find. Turns out Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh are not just waiting around every corner. They're tough players to have on your team. So that's the first part of it. But last year, Oregon's edge players just didn't create enough consistent pressure. And DJ Johnson was drafted by the Panthers higher than I thought he would, and he had a decent season last year. But I think what Oregon was missing was depth, and I think that's what Jordan Birch brings, because when you have DJ Johnson, who I think was really, really good in spurts, but was a little inconsistent with getting pressure on the quarterback, and then you have Brandon Dorlus, and then you don't really have a high-end pass rusher after that, it allows the offense, I think, to really focus on, those 1 or 2 guys and leave everybody else to one-on-ones, and Oregon just didn't have the guys who were capable of doing that. And I mean, Mace Funa is, was a talented recruit, is a good, solid outside linebacker, but he's not an elite pass rusher, and he played much better in the Holiday Bowl against North Carolina. He was the MVP of that game, as a matter of fact, had a couple of sacks. Oregon needs him to be that sort of player. And then Jordan Birch has to produce from the edge, and he has to free up Brandon Dorlus to get one-on-one pass rush opportunities. And Mateo Uiagalelei, 5-star incoming true freshman, he's got to be able to be a quality player as well, and I think he can be. And I'm really, really high on what he can bring to the Ducks. That's, of course, DJ's younger brother, the quarterback now at Oregon State, formerly at Clemson. So when you look at the top line defensive front a year ago and you compare it to this year, and then you factor in a guy in Popo Amavai coming back for what will be his 7th year, actually, of college football. He missed all last season with an injury, but he was an all-conference caliber player last time he was on the field in 2021. You put him up there with Brandon Dorlus and Casey Rogers, and I think you got something working on the interior that's deeper than what you had a season ago. And you put Jordan Birch and Mateo Uiagalelei and Mace Funa in there at the edge spots, and I think that's deeper than what you had a season ago. And that's where it has to start with this Oregon team. They were excellent against the run, except for the Oregon State game, uncharacteristically last year. They were really, really good. They held the Utah offense, the one that ran all over USC twice. They held them to 10 points. The Utah defense scored 7 points in that game. But they're a run-first team, and Oregon shut them down because they were really good against the run, but they struggled getting pressure on quarterbacks, and that's where they have to be better this season. And they've made the personnel moves that on paper look like they're going to be better on that front. They had a historically bad pass rush season a year ago for Oregon stats all time, but it has to materialize on the field because Pac-12 quarterback play, man, it's no joke.
Got to check out Spencer's work on a regular basis, folks. Locked On Ducks, Locked On Pac-12. You see it right there on the screen. Join Spencer on Twitter as well.